Okay, just to finish up a little bit, I'm going to talk about persistence and data types. Now, I mentioned what persistence was. It means that once you shut it down and start it up again, it still works and it's still there. Now, I've got my student database here, or table, with 10 records in. And if I close that down, I've got a feeling that those 10 or that table will be lost. Now I'm saying that, although there is a cache with Google Chrome, which means it might have saved the position it's at, but certainly if I shut the machine down, it will be lost. So I'm going to try that. I'm going to see if I can actually get that back. And yeah, there you go. The cache has kept the information. But if I cleared the cache, I got a feeling that I wouldn't get that. It wouldn't be persistent. But PHP-MyAdmin, so the SQL version, is persistent. So if I click on here and start PHP-MyAdmin again, and if I click on Forest High School and student, I've still got all my details in here. So it keeps it forever until I decide to delete anything. Now, what I wanted to talk about was data types. So on our example slide, I talked about 4 data types: integer or whole number, strings, which I said in databases was varchar with a number behind it between 1 and 255, and then float, real or decimal, and boolean, which is true or false values. And I want to take a look at those in PHP-MyAdmin. So if I create a new table, there we go. I'm not really going to bother about giving a name. This is another way of creating a table. I could type the name in here and then I could give it a data type. But I wanted you to look at the data types that are available. So when I click on the box, because you can't see this when you are in this editor, you can't see the data types of these tables. But in PHP-MyAdmin, you can. If I click on there, I've got my main data types: int for integer, then varchar for variable characters. Oh, actually, it's a bit bigger than it used to be. A variable length of 0 to 65,535 characters. So that's larger. So you can put any one of those numbers in there at all. Then we've got text. That has a maximum length of 65,535. I think that one is 0 to 255, to be honest. But it's a variable length string. And this is a set of characters. Then we've got a date data type. Now, that doesn't exist in Python. You can't have a date data type. It does exist in some languages, but definitely in a database, you can have a date data type. So if you've got a date on your exam paper, then give it the data type date. If you've got words, give it the data type varchar, and in brackets give it a number afterwards. And I would stick to 255. Int, you don't need to say how big it is. It will represent really small or really large numbers. You just need to say it's an int or an integer. Now there's all these different kinds of integers. Tiny int, really small, that's between -128 and 127. Another data type, small int. You don't need to know these at all. Medium int, big int. And then we've got decimal. It's a fixed point number. So you could use decimal to represent a number with a decimal point in. Or you could use float. That would be the same pretty much as decimal, although they hold different values. But if you're small enough, let's say if you're trying to store, I don't know, 2.5, it wouldn't matter whether you use decimal or float. Then we've got double. Double is twice the size of a float. So you could use the word double, or you could use the word real, all to indicate numbers with a decimal point in. So when I was here, we've got float, real, decimal, or you can have double. I'd be careful using double, even though I spelt it incorrectly, because in certain languages it actually just means a large integer. So anything with a decimal point in could be one of those. Anything with words has to be varchar or text, not strings. So when you're in the database section of your exam paper, remember that. If you are in the programming section, then you will be using the word string. Difficult, but that will take a bit of practice. So what else have we got? We have the string data type, so we can have a char or varchar. There is no string data type in a database. Char is a single letter. Varchar is more than one letter. And then we've got different sizes of those as well. And the rest of the data type, these blobs, they're for binary objects such as pictures. And then we've got some strange data types that we don't need to know about. So just to finish off, these are your main data types: integer, varchar, text for really large one. If you get those mixed up, then maybe you'll get away with it. Don't use the word string. Date is another one. Some have currency, so be careful. I can't see there being a currency data type in the exam. And notice that there was no Boolean as a main data type here. It's part of the integers, Boolean. So what that means is that you can use it for true or false, or you can use a 1 or a 0. So that's it. That's your data types. So let's just put this back to the way it should be. Oops, that doesn't help. So we use varchar. Here I'd be tempted to use real. And Boolean. So they would be your data types. In the next video, I'm just going to explain a little bit about what I mean on this array here.